Donald Trump had urged his Palm Beach County friends to vote for Maples. Democrats celebrated Gregory's victory as the latest sign voters are turning against the president and Republicans. Greg Clugston, the White House.
The acting head of the Transportation Security Administration says it may have to shut down operations at some airports as travelers are experiencing record waiting times. In testimony Wednesday before a House committee, Ha Nguyen McNeil described the mounting hardships facing unpaid airport workers and warned of potential airport closures. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 305 points, the Nasdaq rose 167, the S&P advanced 35. More at townhall.com.
Dennis Prager here for AmFed Coin and Bullion. I've always been a strong believer in precious metals investment, and I've always been fascinated with rare coin collecting. But owning the wrong coins that only make dealers a lot of money can be catastrophic for your investment portfolio. AmFed Coin and Bullion specializes in taking people out of non-performing coin portfolios and turning them into gold, silver, or platinum bullion. They tailor a portfolio based on your goals and not what they want to sell you. You'll never experience scare tactics, misleading hype, or high-pressure sales from owner Nick Grovich and his very knowledgeable staff. They will evaluate your portfolio, show you how your coins have performed, and take the time to educate you on the ugly industry practices so that you can make an informed decision. Smart people can make very bad investments when they're under pressure and lack the facts. Call 800-221-7694. That's 800-221-7694. AmericanFederal.com.
The Supreme Court has sided with Internet service provider Cox Communications in its copyright fight with record labels over illegal music downloads by Cox customers. Bob Agnew reports.
The justices on Wednesday ruled unanimously that Cox bears no liability for the copyright violations of its customers. Cox was accused of not doing enough to deter or cut off customers who downloaded music they didn't pay for. The music companies insisted there was overwhelming evidence that Cox knowingly facilitated theft. Cox is praising the court for affirming that Internet service providers are, quote, not copyright police. Bob Agnew reporting.
Savannah Guthrie says in a tearful interview on NBC that somebody needs to do the right thing and provide information that leads to a resolution of the case of her missing 84-year-old mother. News and analysis at townhall.com. From Washington, I'm Keith Peters.
Texas isn't just a place, it's a feeling. We take pride in the way we treat each other, both on and off the road. So drive like a Texan, kind, courteous, and safe. Brought to you by the Texas Department of Transportation.
If you have roof problems, you can sure see them when it rains. This is Deb Tejada from Tejas Roofing. If you see a leak, call me immediately, 281-251-0304. I'll send over the Tejas Roof Repair truck.
That truck has everything our experienced crew needs to fix your roof, right then and there.
The Tejas Roofing crew has been working together fixing leaky roofs for 15 years.
It's not a pretty truck, but it has everything we need to get the job done. I kind of like the way it looks.
Most roofing repairs cost less than $500. Why? Because we find the cause of the leak and repair that leak. We won't try to sell you services you don't need.
And we'll fix it right away because everything we need is in our truck.
Don't put off fixing a leaky roof. Call me at Tejas Roofing and I'll send over the truck. 281-251-0304. When you think of roofing repairs or a new roof, think Tejas Roofing, your Houston roofing company. 281-251-0304. That's Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-566-3062. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 five-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-566-3062. That's 800-566-3062.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Spring deals are popping up early at Lowe's. Right now, get 4 bags of Stay Green 2 cubic foot mulch for just $10. Plus, save $20 on an Ego 56-volt string trimmer, now just $199. Spring starts better when you save early. Don't miss out. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 3/18. Mulch offer excludes Hawaii. Selection varies by location. While supplies last.
Where should I begin?
Can we talk about this?
Say, what are you trying to say?
Beyond the usual controversial talk.
Blah, 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 blah,
oh, yeah.
Over there.
1, 2, cha-cha-cha. 1, 2, cha-cha-cha.
Prepare yourself.
Okay.
For Craig.
Okay.
Preparing a mighty new spectacle here.
Articulate. Stimulating. Hit you right in the... there you go.
We start becoming a team right now.
This is the Craig Collins Show.
Lord Jesus. Oh, God, no.
Start talking. Talk fast.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Now your host.
He's a good man.
Craig.
That's right. It is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. Thrilled to be with you on a Wednesday. Lots and lots of stuff going on, lots of stuff to talk about. If you were listening to the last program on Just Before Me, Chris X Radio, you heard a pretty spirited, is the way I'll say it, debate back and forth between a genuinely very funny listener in Joe from Sugarland. I enjoyed his Boomhauer and his other, I think he did a Hank Hill actually impression on the show and stuff. But it made me think how some of the argument about who and who is not a rhino and how rhinos need to be removed from our political system, all of those things, it made me think how it's related to some of the topics I want to talk about today. And I put a video up on social media at Radio Craig C. If you want to find it, it's on my X, my Twitter page. It is also on my Facebook page. I think we shared it at KSEV Radio's Facebook page as well. I was asking you a basic question that I am now privy to what I think is a pretty decent demonstration that a not small but not huge company in town would rather not have conservatives show up at an upcoming event. A restaurant, a fast food restaurant. That's all I'll say about it now. They've given me their explanation as to why something they said might have been confusing, and this would be the PR company that represented the restaurant. But anyway, because they followed up with me this morning. They seemed to be worried enough about the email and the language in it that they wanted to talk to me again this morning to clarify what they meant. And I'll just tell you that their clarification basically means their entire email made no sense. The thing they were trying to promote, they couldn't accomplish with anybody if they can't accomplish it for KSEV Radio. But none of that matters. You can get the gist of that story at my social media pages, at Radio Craig C, or which is X, and on Facebook, or at KSEV Radio's Facebook page, which I think is 700 KSEV. And then let me know on those places if you want a longer form version of that story, because I'm still contemplating talking about it, but I'm not necessarily going to tell the story today on this show, even though I think it relates to the argument that was just happening on the show before me a little bit ago, and how a lot of people are fed up. A lot of people want some kind of change. They want to say, and you know what, actually, I got a ton of audio. I'm going to jump way ahead to something that I wasn't planning on talking about first on the show, but I definitely wanted to talk about at some point. So Benny Johnson, very big, very popular, very famous human in the world of social media now. Certainly not necessarily a person that years ago I think would be just a social media voice. I think he would have been on conservative radio somewhere. And a lot of these guys who are big influencers of maybe not the generation that grew up listening to radio, but a newer generation of especially conservatives, that they go to these places. They go to these voices. And we would like at KSEV or anywhere else to have us. We don't want just people of any one certain makeup to be a part of the listener group at this station. So I think it's interesting because this is probably a voice that's far more influential, begrudgingly admitted, than our voice is right now, with a certain subset of hopeful conservative voters, which we need all these voters to win elections. You need them. President Trump won the popular vote because he did surprisingly well with certain demographics, surprising to the Democrats, not to us, but surprisingly well with certain demographics. And I think partially because he did Joe Rogan's podcast. He did all this other stuff. But anyway, I want to play this. This is James O'Keefe. And you might know, I assume a lot of people know who James O'Keefe is, the founder of Project Veritas, and then kicked out of that group and then created his own thing. But what is he really good at? He's really good, and there's creepy, shady ways I think they go about doing this. I'm not judging him. I think he's playing in a certain sandbox that requires creepy and shady behavior in order to get the truth from people. And I can explain that a little bit better. Essentially, people on his staff pretend to be people romantically interested in, individuals who have high-ranking positions in our government or somewhere else, and they get things on the record via serendipitous recordings that wind up being incredibly important to our society. They've broken more stories where they had an actual person of note on record than anybody else in the last few years. James was on Benny Johnson's show, and he was talking about how frustrated he is that even though they've handed a totality of the goods to the Trump administration, people have not been arrested. And so he said he can just go away. He can just disappear into the ether. I was fascinated by this. I'm a big supporter of President Trump. I'm not trying to turn my focus on taking shots at the current commander-in-chief. However, I understand the sentiment, especially from someone as on the ground as James is, that if you're doing all this work, you have people on the record, you essentially have everything you would think you need to put someone in handcuffs, and they're not in handcuffs, and you don't know why. But here, let's play some of that audio.
Say that you have people potentially flipping on the higher-ups. Who are the higher-ups? What does your gut tell you?
Well, right now, I have people in the field.
The money's coming from somewhere.
Yes, it is.
You know, and it's a lot of money. Even if it's $5 per signature to a homeless person, there's like suitcases of hundreds of thousands of dollars where the $5 comes from, right?
That's correct. You got a huge audience. So if I say what it is right now, it might hurt my ability over the next few days to continue getting it. But
of course,
there's petitioners and there's coordinators, and it appears as though this is like organized crime. And the thing about organized crime is it's extremely dangerous.
Yes, it is.
So you could have gangs involved in this. There are companies that do this, but they're criminal actions. So there's out-of-state people that come into California. They make a lot of money. And we've been given the names of those companies, and we're currently tracking them down. But yeah, James O'Keefe and Cam Higbee and Savannah Hernandez and Anthony Rubin and John Cho has a report out today. We are going to find the higher-ups and expose them. But I think the question we have to ask ourselves is, without accountability, what does it matter? What does it matter?
All right, I want to stop it right there. He name-dropped himself and then several members of his staff. I'm going to keep playing more of it because this is where it gets really good to me. And if you wanted to pick Nick Shirley types, Nick Shirley's name has been used a lot after everything that happened with Minnesota and uncovering the fraud there. But the OG of this stuff in the world of the internet is James O'Keefe and Project Veritas. All the different versions of on the record, didn't know he was being recorded. This person of notable position within a company or within politics is telling us the thing we all thought was happening, admitting to it, saying all the ways it's being controlled, manipulated, all that stuff. I'm not doing this to be conspiratorial, by the way. Anyone that has no understanding of who this person is or what they've uncovered is probably thinking this all sounds crazy, but it's not. You can go look for yourself. Several times they've had actual notable, important people caught red-handed, essentially, in the society we live in, admitting things on video. And then usually the excuse is, I was lying to impress the person I was on the date with that I didn't know was fake. That's usually the excuse, a terrible excuse that gets used. But I want to play more of this because this does sound like someone, much like our caller in Sugarland or a lot of other people, who's just fed up. They're just sick of this. They just want something different than the broken version of government that we believe we have.
If no one is held accountable, does bringing it to a, I guess the question for your audience is a rhetorical question. Is, do you want me to continue doing this?
Yes.
Do you want me to continue exposing it?
I know he said it's rhetorical. I'm answering.
Does it even matter?
Yes.
I mean, that's a rhetorical question. I'm not going to answer that.
I did.
Because I can stop. I can give up. I can retire. But I'm not going to put my life in harm's way and my people's life, because they were almost killed, for nothing. It's not worth it. I think you would agree with that. So I can go away. I can be on a sabbatical. until someone is arrested. But I'm not going to put my people's life in danger every week for nothing to happen. That's honest. I'm just being vulnerable and transparent with the world.
I think this is excellent. And I think it's excellent regardless of if you think that James O'Keefe is a liar or if he's a valuable arbiter of the truth. Like, that part doesn't matter to me. The fact that he is on the ground level of trying to record people that don't know they're being recorded, saying things that they'd never say publicly. And here's how it relates to a couple things. So I am dealing with an issue. I mentioned it at the start of the show, and I told people more about it on my social media pages, where I'm pretty sure I know what the truth is. Like, I'm fairly certain that I can see the truth based on the information I have in front of me, but I can't get the other side to admit it. The other side will never admit it. If I fight to get this silly little thing that's not even really a big deal compared to the stuff that James O'Keefe is actually working on and his team, but if I fight to, like, out it, tell you about a company and a thing that happened, the end result is probably that the guy at the lowest level of the food chain, he gets fired. He gets blamed for everything, and he gets canned. We've seen that before when O'Keefe does this stuff. It never gets any further than that. And so the best thing about people like him, about independent journalists in general in our society, is the ability to get through that barrier that would exist for anyone else that's known to be in media. There's certain things that people in media will never be told. The fact that, for the little example I'm giving of an experience I had in the last 24 hours, a company felt the need to call me this morning and talk to me again, was to shape my opinion of something, not necessarily to tell me the truth, because at least to them in that moment, I was a media threat. Not that I really am much of one. I don't know. I'd like to be sometimes, but I can't get over this. I can't get over thinking about this. And I think that, especially when it comes to the Senate seat here in Texas, many, many people believe if somehow John Cornyn is once again the actual nominee of the Republican Party, then they feel like O'Keefe. They feel like, what's the point? Why don't I just give up? Why don't I just stop? Because there is no value in putting someone in that position who is not going to stand up at the moments I most need them. And that is the actual game. I will tell you that I believe that too. That the game at the end of the day is that I can probably get a lot of people who'd be willing to run for office, willing to cash the checks of the government job, somehow enrich themselves even more, as many politicians do. I saw the average Democrat in the House is worth like $3 million, which is insane. So there's a lot of people who would say, I'm a Republican, I'll vote with you 70, 80% of the time, I'll cash all the checks, I'll be happy. And then that 20% of the time where somebody pushes me, I'll fold like a little chair and go the other way. Yeah, that's terrible. I get it. And I think the more time that you expect to be dealing with this, I'll say it more clearly, the younger you are, the more you hope that you can actually affect change in D.C. If you're of a certain age where maybe you only have one or two presidents that you see left in your future, and then you're not too worried about what happens after that, you probably are worried for your family, for your kids, for your grandkids, for anybody, but you're maybe more limited in how much of your own life will be impacted by more of the same. I think there is a chance that people in that boat are like, look, this is the best we can do. We've been fighting this fight for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. And then the other thing I'll be told, I'll say this too, before I take my first break, because I have some friends of mine that I talk about this stuff with them. One of the things I'm often told is it's coming, is no matter how frustrated you get, no matter how much you think stuff isn't going to occur, that it's coming. Now, granted, I will tell you that as someone who happily voted for Trump multiple times and is not trying to bash him in this segment, it's got to eventually show up if they're going to be telling me the truth. And if it never shows up, if those arrests, if all the people held accountable, if the swamp doesn't get evidently drained in from our viewpoint, from our vantage point, there will be more frustration. And so I actually think out of anything coming up with this midterm election that Republicans are fighting, it's this. I think that the Republican Party itself is fighting the idea that it's not strong enough, it's not powerful enough, not having the right people in positions to get the job done, to be something that motivates a lot of these people to vote, who are frustrated, who are annoyed. And I know there's other voters out there who just don't like either of the candidates we have in the Senate race and can't see themselves voting for either one of them. And one of those two people, it's a very different reason. than Cornyn. Ken Paxton is not because I think a lot of people feel he's as rhino-y as Cornyn is, but it's because they feel that there's other issues that might be there. But I just find all this to be incredible, and I do understand the frustration of let's get the thing I want the most. And so I just wanted to echo that I've been told before by many people who are very passionate on these topics that it's coming, that you will eventually see the thing you most desire, which is people being held accountable. And O'Keefe sounds like he really wants to hear it now. You know what? Let me play a little bit more of this because it's pretty good, the rest of this audio. And then we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll do some other stuff. But this is James O'Keefe, the founder of Project Veritas, the founder of his own organization, both with a similar design for anyone just tuning in, to out truth by recording people in positions of power that don't know they're being recorded, which is amazing. And this is him on Benny Johnson's show, his digital show, talking all about how he's getting close to wanting to give up on being one of the people best positioned to expose some of the biggest secrets in government because it's not doing anything. Nothing is happening when these secrets are put on the table for someone at the DOJ or somewhere else to actually take action.
I'm not going to get killed. I saw what happened to Charlie Kirk. I don't want to die. I need to stay on this earth to keep exposing the truth. So I can go on vacation, I can go away, and when y'all are going to arrest somebody, I'll come back. Because I'll tell you what, getting punched in the neck, having nobody get arrested, it's not right. It's immoral is what it is. And the Republicans are in power. The Attorney General of the United States has the jurisdiction to arrest someone tomorrow. I haven't seen any statements on the internet or on Fox News or anywhere else about this. And I frankly, I get there's egos involved, but I think it's a form of cowardice. I'm glad the president is talking about it. I think he should continue to talk about it. And I will continue to keep releasing videos this week.
I love that he even said that. He's like, I'm glad that President Trump is at least willing to say some of these things where the media is most willing to say that he's just saying baloney. He's just saying crazy stuff. He's just, telling more lies and doing horrible, terrible things that all of us need to ignore. But this is, to me, fascinating and a valuable conversation for a variety of reasons. But the most important being that it's simply an inside look at a lot of people's feeling. I think a lot of people, regardless of demographic, feel as though the thing I most want still isn't happening. How do I get it to actually happen? How do I get to the point where the people that are in power get other people in trouble, start to break the system from within? Because I do think that entitlement, that arrogance, that elitist nature of people in D.C. is one of the things that's also most frustrating. One of the things that makes people most upset is just the unapologetic demonstration of I'm more important than you, I'm better than you, and how these people function and behave. And wanting to have that torn apart also, to me, just makes sense. All right, we're going to take a break. A lot to get to that's not necessarily that. I was just inspired to hit on that topic that I had planned a little bit later on in the show because of some of the things we're hearing from listeners at this station. But quite a bit to get to. KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. At ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter. Rain-X wipers are the #1 wiper blades in America. That means all kinds of drivers choose Rain-X. Big drivers in small cars choose Rain-X. Small drivers in big cars choose Rain-X. Drivers with long hair and short commutes choose Rain-X. Drivers with short hair and long commutes choose Rain-X. Drivers with pets on board, babies on board, And board babies on board choose Rain-X. Basically, drivers who love a clear view of the road all choose Rain-X wipers, the #1 wiper blades in America.
A breast cancer diagnosis can turn your world upside down. But your Houston Methodist team assures you they'll use the latest cancer research and technologies, collaborating to treat and remove the tumor and reconstruct your breasts, restoring symmetry, sensation, and your sense of self. That's the difference between practicing medicine and leading it for you. Houston Methodist, leading medicine.
Dan Patrick for my friend Louis Flory and Ability Tree Experts. Spring is here and summer just around the corner, which means it's time to deep root fertilize your trees in addition to spraying for insects and disease. Let Ability Trees help maintain their value and repair all damage. Fed and pruned tree will be less susceptible to wind damage and uprooting. Caring for the beautiful and valuable trees on your property that you can't replace should be done by experts. And the experts I use, it's very clear. It's Ability Tree Experts and Louis Flory, my friend for over 40 years. Gosh, this guy is the pro when it comes to taking care of trees. You know, pruning is important for the health of your trees, and pruning limits resistance to spring storms and allows the sun and fresh air into the canopy. Trees can be in distress several months without showing any signs, so don't wait to protect your investment at 281-441-4179, 281-441-4179, or visit their website at abilitytrees.com. Right now, Ability Trees is giving a deep root feeding with every tree pruned. Ability Trees, Houston's leading tree care professional.
What's your message to Congress that could put an end to all of this?
It would be ideal. This isn't working for us right now.
Airports are terrible.
Fireball.
Fireball!
This is taxpayer money. What's it?
My flight leaves in 16 minutes.
16 minutes.
I got the 3 a.m.
Doesn't seem like you're making that flight.
No, he's not. He's not going to make that flight. Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. That is Fox News reporting live. I think that is actually in Houston's airport from, that might be this morning. I think that was today, not yesterday. It might have been yesterday. But anyway, this is one of many times where people have gotten a reaction from individuals at the airport saying how terrible things are. And I just loved the fire them all part, where he's like, what should we do?
It would be ideal. This isn't
it's bad.
Working for us right now.
I don't like it.
Fireball.
Fire everybody.
This is taxpayer.
Now, honestly, obviously, I don't actually advocate that. There are some people like Trump that I'd like to keep their jobs. But by and large, a lot of people who just don't give a crap about us at all. And actually, you know what? There's another way to do this. And this way seems pretty good. This is having a conversation about how Democratic senators who make $100,000+ a year, 174, they actually are usually worth at least $3 million. The average Democrat worth $3 million, unwilling to freeze their own pay, but very willing to shut down parts of the government, freeze TSA pay. And so you had testimony today. A question was asked to essentially the HR director of the United States about how difficult, how challenging, how bad it is to have this amount of time, paycheck to paycheck, for TSA agents. I'll let you listen to this a little bit, but this is where elite, where important, your peons, your pieces of crap, you don't matter, to a T. This is absolutely a great example of why so much frustration exists on both sides of the political aisle with the system that currently seems to be unfair to so many of us and overwhelmingly fair or, unfair in a different way to the very few people who enrich themselves through our government system. Here we go.
What is the impact of a federal employee coming to work but not getting paid? What's the impact upon their morale, their family, their finances? Take for example, a $60K a year TSA agent who's been coming to work for the last 40 days but has now missed 3 paychecks. In your view, as the head HR person in the federal government, what is the impact upon a person like that?
Yeah, look, as you mentioned, Mr. Vice Chairman, look, it's very severe. So, look, at those compensation levels, these are people who literally live paycheck to paycheck, right? So they do not have savings. They have to make car payments. They have to make, housing payments and rent payments. They got to put their kids through school. And yes, there's no question that
they're screwed.
If you are asked to come to work and you're not paid, that's a problem. And this is why, unfortunately, I think, and we saw this in the prior shutdown as well, which is this is why you see people not showing up to work. It's understandable because they need to find some other means of actually providing compensation for their families.
Yeah, and to be honest, gig working is so prevalent right now that I bet you a bunch of TSA agents are driving Uber throughout the entirety of the country, hoping that that's not taken over by the robots because it's one of the only ways to find income and then not actually quit your job where you might go back if you start getting paid again. But yeah, you know that. I know that. That's a very basic take on this discussion. And Democrats are usually the people in Washington that claim that they're fighting for the people with the least amount of money, that they're not protecting the millionaires and billionaires. But in this case, they're harming people that I assume aren't going to vote for them anytime soon. At least I hope not. There's one more version of this. This was Senator Rick Scott out of Florida saying the exact same thing about how Democrats are elitist pieces of crap.
Well, you know, here's what's so frustrating. Now, these are Democrat senators that make $174,000 a year. Some of them multimillionaires. The average net worth of a Democrat senator is over $3 million. And they're okay that people are making $50,000, right? They're okay with them not getting paid. That's exactly what's happened with TSA agents. And Democrat senators have said they have to get paid, so they're still getting paid, right? While TSA agents aren't, that are out there trying to protect us. So, you know, one Democrat senator says, "Oh, I have a mortgage." Well, guess what? So do TSA agents, and they say they hate ICE. ICE is there to protect Americans. We just lost a young lady up in Chicago. What do they say to people like Sheridan Gorman up in Chicago, that family, or Laken Riley? They don't care. Democrats do not care about the safety of Americans.
Yeah, it's even worse than that, actually. Brandon Johnson, the mayor in Chicago, when asked a question while unveiling his crazy snowplow that says "Abolish ICE" on it, which he claims Chicagoans voted for that name, but he's making a political statement with a snowplow in Chicago. Talk about desperate and stupid. When asked a question about the young woman who was killed there, said that he wanted to protect all Chicagoans in response to it, including people who are there illegally and people who might be harming other individuals in that state. It was a disgusting answer to a question that seemed easy enough to answer, that a whole lot of the rest of us could have very easily answered. For some reason, he couldn't, and that seemed absolutely terrible. All right, one last thing I do want to play, and then we'll take a break. This, to me, also crazy and terrifying. This was a guest on Joe Rogan's show, a CEO of a artificial intelligence company that is giving an answer about the future of thought. I know this seems like I'm diving deep into the weeds, but part of the intention of this show is to bring you some clips that you're not going to hear other places. Although if you listen to Joe Rogan, as millions of people do, you've already heard this other places. But maybe not hear it other places in traditional media or radio or whatnot. So I want to play this, but this is Joe Rogan having a conversation with a thought leader in the world of AI, artificial intelligence, about how many ideas won't be coming from human brains in the very, very near future. And then he acts like it's no big deal, but you can tell even Joe Rogan is thinking to himself, this sounds bad for a whole lot of reasons.
And more of knowledge in the world will be generated synthetically going forward. You know, until now, the knowledge that we have are knowledge that we generate and we propagate and we send to each other and we amplify it and we add to it and we modify it, we change it. In the future, in a couple of years, maybe 2 or 3 years, 90% of the world's knowledge will likely be generated by AI.
That's crazy.
I know, but it's just fine.
But it's just fine.
I know.
No, it's not.
And the reason for that is this.
It's not
Let
fine.
me tell you why.
No, it's not. I don't even. Well, I'll let him say it in a second. But it sounds terrible and not fine because those machines are still made by man, and those machines still have certain biases put in them by man, as we've seen time and again. ChatGPT, when asked pretty basic questions about politics, about I think it was President Trump and Kamala Harris, gave overwhelmingly glowing answers about Harris and really terrible answers about Trump. AI is controlled, at least initially, by man until it turns into the Terminator and takes us out. And in this case, it would be even worse that they're generating most of our thought. But continue, sir.
Okay. It's because what difference does it make to me that I'm learning from a textbook that was generated by a bunch of people I didn't know, or written by a book that, from somebody I don't know, to
because they're a
knowledge
person
generated by AI computers
because
that
they're
are
human,
assimilating all of this and resynthesizing things. To me, I don't think there's a whole lot of difference.
I do. I think that one of the biggest differences is the AI eventually is going to want to take us out. I don't think they're going to have as much, passion for human beings as we ourselves do. Although, who knows? Scientists in places like China try to kill everybody. So it seems like things are pretty bad across the board. But I will say that like that version of thought from these people in these tech places right now is more terrifying than anything else I hear from anybody, because of us surrendering control of our own existence to something that is not actually human beings. Like, we think it's bad in D.C. now, and that rhinos are a big part of the problem. If you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat, I don't know, the problem is just Trump all the time. But all of us might have a unique, different challenge in the very near future, and it might be our robot overlords. And I'm somewhat tongue-in-cheek as I'm saying this. I'm not trying to be the craziest guy in the room on this topic, but it's just insane to hear this person that's got that proximity to the creation and development of AI, very matter-of-fact saying he's not worried at all if 90% of the ideas of thought, of things that we claim are true, come from computers and not us at all. Like, that just sounds horrible for our society. We've become dumber. I will say this before I take my last break. We've become stupider and less intelligent all the time because of the convenience of technology. It doesn't just spread intelligence and the ability to gain more information. The convenience of it also at times makes us a lot less intelligent. And so I think that in a world where 90% of thought is being created by the AI, a lot less of us are trying all that hard. There's fewer of us and fewer of us that are putting up a fight against the artificial intelligence, and that seems uniquely, horribly bad to me, to say the very least. It just seems like the kind of thing that ends with Terminator. This is where Arnold Schwarzenegger, is needed to fight Arnold Schwarzenegger, because we don't know what else to do here. But I just thought that was interesting. All right, you know what? I'm going to play one more piece of audio, and then we'll come back and we'll do silly stuff. I call it my quick 4-ish. I steal it from Dana Lash. Dana, who will have news. KSEV will have news about Dana in the future. I don't think I can say anything yet, but there will be news involving Dana Lash and the station. I think I've said that before. I'll also be filling in on her national show as a host. I guest host on it. Actually, quite a bit. They ask me often, which is very nice of them. But I'll be on it next Thursday, Friday, and the following Monday. So that is Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and then the day after Easter. I will be filling in on her national show. I recommend you check that out on the internet at Radio America or any of Dana's pages, and not wherever else it might air here in this community. But let me play this. This is Megyn Kelly talking about a Chicago alderwoman who said horrible things about the murder of Sheridan Gorman, essentially saying how little they care, how it doesn't matter, how maybe the person who killed her, who's here illegally with a criminal rap sheet that's quite a bit long, might have been startled, somehow blamed the person who was killed, the Loyola student, for her own death. That's sort of what it sounded like. It's the version of you shouldn't have been dressed that way, basically, which is insane to say. But I want to play a little bit of this because I thought this was interesting too. Megyn Kelly on saying your attempt to push this to the side makes us fight harder for the truth. These are why people like James O'Keefe and at times her show are incredibly valuable to our society. Not when she's taking weird shots at Mark Levin and his manhood, or seemingly attacking Trump because of the belief that Israel is capable of telling Trump what to do. When, to be honest, I don't think anyone has ever been able to tell President Trump at any time in his life, whether he's a politician or not, what to do. But let's play a little bit of Megyn Kelly, and then we'll take a break.
And now, unfortunately for Maria, we are going to start digging. Now we're interested. So she's not going to be able to just coast along as Chicago alderwoman, responsible to no one. We will be calling attention to whether she's connected with such groups and what else she has to say. She's not going to get away with leaving it as at wrong place, wrong time. I don't care if we have to call her office every single day for the next year. That's what's going to happen. This woman will amend that statement to offer the proper empathy, or she will never stop hearing from us. That's
great, by the way, actually. You'll never stop hearing from us. We will be relentless in our demand for the truth, or at least for an acknowledgement of the truth from the people who most try to hide it, because of how important that is. I like that. I like that take a lot. All right. As I said, there's a lot to get to on the show today, a lot of things that I need to do, but I do have to take another break. We'll be back in just a bit. This is KSEV, KGBC, The Voice of Texas, and the Craig Collins Show.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-566-3062. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-566-3062. That's 800-566-3062.
Tax Relief.
When it comes to garage doors, no one knows more than the doctor. Garage Door Doctor.
We got a call late New Year's Eve. A father with big plans for his family the next day said his garage door spring just snapped. He couldn't get his car out and wouldn't be able to get his family to where they needed to go. He felt stuck and alone. So we showed up fast with the right spring and the right parts to fix it right. We didn't talk about the price. We didn't wait till the morning. We fixed it right then. Because at Garage Door Doctor, it's never just about the job. It's about the person behind it. The dad, the veteran, the grandpa, the neighbor. Hi, I'm Tommy Mello, owner of Garage Door Doctor. When you need help, we're the ones that show up. Call Garage Door Doctor today or schedule online at garagedoordoctor.biz. We fix garage doors fast with quality parts designed to last a lifetime because we're proud to serve the people who rely on us.
When it comes to garage doors, no one knows more than the doctor. Garage Door Doctor.
Match is back here in the Mac Z-Cliner. I'm recovering from surgery thanks in large part to this miracle chair, the Mac Z-Cliner. You can sit in it, you can recline in it, you can watch TV in it, you can eat in it, you can sleep in it. It goes to zero gravity position. The Mac Z-Cliner helped me recover. It also has heat and massage, a place to charge your cell phone. Come out to Gallery Furniture, buy a Mac Z-Cliner before your surgery. Gallery Furniture delivers tonight, or after your surgery, Gallery Furniture delivers tonight, and you'll sit and sleep great tonight.
It doesn't seem like he sleeps. He's like tweeting all night. He's very manic. He has 13 children, multiple ex-wives. Like, I don't understand like how he, like,
Elon
what is
Musk.
it like to be in his orbit?
When I first met him, I thought he was very interesting, especially I was 23, 24 at the time, and guys my age are not talking about philosophy or Schopenhauer or degrees.
He's talking about Schopenhauer?
Yes, to a degree. So
I'll stop it right there. Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. That is one of the exes of Elon Musk. Her name is Ashley St. Clair. Being interviewed by Tim Miller, who's crapping all over Musk and hates the guy, mostly because at one point Musk was part of the coalition that helped get President Trump elected. And now, I don't know how Musk feels about that. I don't really care. But I love that media will hate him forever, even though he is the guy creating the greenest of cars for them. But nonetheless, she's saying how she was attracted to him, how she thought he was interesting. You can already hear in the voice of the person interviewing her how upset he is by that. And then I thought she said something really interesting, Ashley St. Clair, blaming her lack of development as a 20-something-year-old woman, her brain development, as to why she used to be attracted to Elon Musk and no longer is.
Finding someone who could speak about something, and at the time you think this individual is a part of something so much bigger than themselves and they're fighting the good fight, that's very intoxicating to a young girl who's does not have a fully developed prefrontal cortex at the time. So I think there's been a difference in my view since I've...
Whatever. I love that everybody's always a victim of everything, even their own brain, apparently, as to why they might have at one point liked Elon Musk and at another point don't. But the reason I wanted to play that, and I thought that was so amusing, is because of how desperate people are sometimes to trash anyone that goes out and publicly and disagrees with them on something. And Elon Musk certainly did not become shy about his political opinions for a while there. And that might have cost him a lot. And it's a shame that that's a thing in our society, in all honesty, because, I don't know, I think that at some point, no matter who you are, no matter what you say, I'm going to say it, I'm going to relate it this way. So Major League Baseball is kicking off tonight. The New York Yankees are playing on Netflix, which is abundantly annoying to both me and the longtime voice of the New York Yankees, that's Michael Kay, on television, because he won't get to do opening day. He doesn't get to call the game. So he was annoyed that was in New York. But I can compartmentalize the stuff about sports that most annoys me, the things they try to beat over my head, because for my own personal enjoyment, losing baseball in my life would be sadder than dealing with the annoying aspects of it now or trying to tune them out in order to consume something that I've loved since I was a little kid. I've loved the New York Yankees since I was a little kid. I remember talking about the Yankees with my grandfather, who was not a Yankee fan. Family members of mine, my mom is a Mets fan, so a bunch of wrong fans within my family. Mel Ott was my grandfather's favorite player. I remember telling him how people like Joe DiMaggio were better than Mel Ott, and he'd say no. It's just great. This is what makes baseball so wonderful. And so I think, to go back to the Elon Musk discussion, there are times when if I want an electric vehicle and I'm a crazy liberal lefty lunatic idiot, I can just buy a Tesla still and live that life because it's the car I want. It makes me happy. And I don't have to necessarily be all up in arms forever the way media is about the side of the aisle that they most disagree with. It's sort of insane the way that happens. But one more time, opening day will be starting in like 13 minutes on Netflix. The Yankees get to play the Giants tonight. I don't know why that's the matchup. I thought it really should have been the Blue Jays. That would have been more interesting. Or maybe a team other than the Yankees. Maybe your Astros here in Houston should be playing somebody else today, but that'll all start again tomorrow. And I know people have all kinds of opinions about this. And to be honest, you know what? I'll spin this a different way, because I think this is sort of an interesting caveat to that conversation. In some space, I know people who will say I am failing them by not fighting the good fight that is ignoring sports. There are people I know, not just one or two people, a lot of people that I know that have done this themselves. I got 3 buddies of mine that do a nationally syndicated radio show. I used to be on after them in a different state in this country, and all 3 of them would say on their show, again, nationally syndicated on a bunch of places, that MLB baseball hates you and that other things hate you. And they meant me. They meant the conservative viewer, the conservative consumer of that sort of entertainment. And you needed to stand up and fight the people who hate you. And what's fascinating about that is some of those same people would say that an individual like John Cornyn doesn't need to be fought. So you're losing people somewhere. You're weak somewhere. At some point, you're failing the group because you're not strong enough to fight this fight over here, not strong enough to fight that fight over there. And I have to be honest, to me sometimes, the value is really more nuanced than that simple statement. That, oh, you still watch baseball. How dare you, you terrible person. You're failing everybody because your continued watching of baseball is what's allowing it to stay the same as it is. That argument sounds very similar to if you vote for certain people in positions of power that you think are doing things that we don't want them to do. You're not fighting the good fight. And I just wonder, and this is me being fairly candid with you on the show before I transition to some other sillier things and actually do a quick four-ish topic before we get to the end of the show. I just wonder if there's a reason that we all want to fight something. And I think there is, by the way. I can answer my own question. I imagine some of you can answer this question too. It's because of how, and I started the show with this, so I'll close the political discussion on this topic. And then, as I said, we'll move on to sillier things. I think it's because of how helpless a lot of us feel. I mean, I'll say this about COVID. Regardless of how you fought, regardless of what you did, and I know in Texas, I was in Illinois at the time, it was more common to have more people fight more of this stuff than it was where I used to live. I remember having actually, I'll tell you this. This is a good story for this. I remember having a conversation with a coworker of mine early on in COVID about how flights to all kinds of places had plummeted in price. Like you could go on a vacation to Cancun for $50. I remember talking to a coworker at a different radio station about how excited I was at the idea that especially if my company was going to do a furlough where for a couple weeks you were fired and then you got your job back. It was very odd. You went on unemployment for a couple weeks and then you came back and you had the same job. I might just do it because I wasn't that scared of all the things they were telling me to be scared of, as a lot of people here in Texas were not that scared. And that conversation went from the person that I thought was just joking around and supportive to me to other people who were all mad about it, who were like, how dare you? How dare this guy say that he's contemplating spending $50 with his wife and flying to Cancun for a week and having an awesome time right when everything's starting to get shut down and everyone's going crazy because of how convenient it seemed to do that. How dare I not be more afraid? And man, oh man, how right was I when you fast forward a few years later, and how much I regret the fact that I didn't do that, that me and my wife didn't take that trip that we should have taken, because we would have been fine. But nonetheless, the thing that I find so interesting about it is it's that same basic sentiment of what I'm talking about today, of where you're no longer strong enough for someone. And I think COVID broke a lot of us. I think COVID made you feel, even if you were fighting individually, even if you were walking into stores refusing to wear a mask and they were kicking you out or something, at the end of all of that, the thing we see from the periphery, from the top of the hill we're on now, is that we didn't impact the world as much as we wanted to. Our sentiment, although right, and now attempted to be ignored by a whole lot of people who said the wrong stuff very loudly for a certain amount of years, now that we're standing at the end of that tunnel, the only thing they can tell us is move on already. Just move on to the next thing, where they do it all over again. So maybe that's the biggest energizer for people, and why they're done. They're done allowing the fight to be stopped and someone to say cooler heads need to prevail for reasons that don't seem to make sense. Maybe that's what it is. I'm not sure. But that feels like that could be true to me. And I know I'm kind of talking on both sides of this issue. And I'll be honest with you, I think that it's a case-by-case thing. I think that there's times where you look at a certain situation, and I'll go back to the example of Cornyn in Texas, because it's the easiest one to do here in Houston, and how much I understand in the very limited amount of time I've lived here, and how much of a slap in the face it feels like to a whole lot of Republican, conservative, MAGA, whatever you want to call them, Texas voters, if Cornyn is the candidate again. Because I feel like it's been the last few years where the assumption's been he was dead in the water. There was no way that John Cornyn was going to be our senator again, that he was going to absolutely lose to somebody. I love the people who blame Wesley Hunt for getting into the race in the first place, assuming that Ken Paxton would have won enough to prevent a runoff vote. Because, to be honest, if that's true, then Paxton will win the runoff, and then it doesn't matter anyway. And Wesley Hunt gave it a college try, and darn it, I liked him for it. I am still a fan of Wesley Hunt, and I can't wait to see what political decision he makes next, because I'd like to be a supporter of his again if I can, if he runs in a race that I vote in. But nonetheless, I just think that those are the kind of moments, they feel like COVID all over again. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe our radar or our anger is a 99 out of 100, and once somebody tips it over to 100, we go a little crazy. We get a little angry. We get a little whatever, because I've been yelled at by people about my willingness to watch MLB baseball still. I mean, like all kinds of things. People get mad at everything for everybody on all kinds of aisles, because it seems like we need 100% of people to be, I just keep ranting about this and not moving on, and I have silly stuff, and I don't know if I'm going to get to it. In order to affect change in our society, I'll say it this way to you, and I don't know if you agree with it or not, but I just think it's true for a vast majority of us. It feels like you need 100% of people. It feels like if you have 80%, 70%, 50% of people, that change doesn't happen, that it just gets ignored, that whatever the thing is that you think should be occurring in our society, you didn't get enough to overwhelm the people on the other side of it, the people yelling and screaming, no, how dare you, this is terrible, you're not going to do it this way. You just need everybody. That's what it feels like. And I think that's a byproduct of the internet, of the world in which we live on social media, especially if you're a conservative. Because you can go on social media. I can say something right now on one of those popular platforms, and a bunch of people on the other side of the aisle, if they see it, will attack me. They'll be all mad, and I don't care. Attack me all you want. But that's what makes you feel like you really need a lot of reinforcements to get any of this stuff done. That's at least my opinion on it. All right, let's do a couple silly things before we actually get out of here, because I did want to do a top or quick 4-ish topics, which are just, to me, not necessarily serious things. A man made a goblin war horn and went viral for it. I don't even know what to say for this. I have audio. I feel like I needed to set up the audio by telling you what this man believes the musical instrument he's playing is. He believes it's, quote, a goblin war horn. It's actually just PVC piping and a balloon. But I want to play this because this went very viral of a dude debuting a brand new instrument to society.
I made something really stupid and impractical because the internet showed me how to do it.
I guess up right there because now you just feel like your radio broke. He blows up the balloon, and then the Goblin War horn just plays because that's the kind of thing he had time to create. Here's the again. I find that very amusing and terrible and awful and great. That's honestly how we should be spending more of our time in the world in which we currently live. One other thing, a man allegedly set fire to a home while singing Burning Down the House by the Talking Heads. There's a crazy aspect to this story. 43 years old, Pennsylvania, obviously crazy, singing the song. Here, I'll play a little bit of the song just to give you. Wait for it. Yeah, the guy's name is Martin. He was walking around his home. He's facing multiple arson-related charges. He's being held on $1 million bail in Pennsylvania. As I said, 43 years old. Seems like he was trying to game his insurance system to get a sweet, sweet insurance payment. The mistake he made, outside of the fact that he attempted to burn down his house and not get caught in general, was that he was singing so loud neighbors could hear him as he was burning down his house. I think that's usually the thing you least want to do. I don't try to help criminals, but I'll at least put this out there. If you're committing a crime, singing a song that is verbatim the crime you're committing, the words in the song are the words that you're doing that thing, that's probably not going to work out well for you. It's sort of like wearing a T-shirt that says, I'm robbing this bank right now, as you rob a bank. It's probably not a good move, but darn it, I'm glad that he did it. I'm glad that he decided to, push himself as far as he could go in that one way. One last thing, Natty Ice has launched a new lawn brew, a fertilizer made from spent beer grains. It's designed to help lawns grow. I find this also to be hilarious, and it apparently might be very good for your lawn. Here's the commercial they released for their lawn brew, spent beer grain stuff you put on your yard.
After a long day of photosynthesis and being walked on by the man, there's only one thing a hardworking lawn like you wants. Natural light. Introducing Lawn Brew.
Yeah, baby.
A fertilizer made from spent grains. That's the stuff left over after brewing beer. And it's great for luscious lawns like you. Lawn Brew. All the greatness of beer. Now for lawns.
One of my favorite products that's been invented recently or been put out into the world by Natty Ice, of all places. Natural Light is the name of the company. I love it so much because I'd love to tell the missus I was swinging over to the hardware store to pick up the lawn brew so that I can go ahead and grow my grass a little bit nicer, make this year's yard look a little bit better than last year's yard. I guess in Texas it's just all-around yard. You don't have that situation we had up north where it goes away for a bit. So I love it. But Natty Ice, Natural Light, putting out a lawn brew for you, for me, for everybody that feels like the one thing missing from our front or our backyard is a version of beer. Getting the lawn drunk so that it looks a little bit better is just so fascinating. All right, I'm out of here. That's it. That's the whole show. Thank you to everybody who paid attention. Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas.
You're listening to the voice of Texas, AM 700 KSEV Tomball.